There is now a petition to remove Sophie Cunningham from the WNBA. There is now a petition to remove her from the WNBA. Yeah. Yeah. It has 114 signatures.
They launched a petition to ban Sophie Cunningham like she had just stormed the WNBA as a full-blown Marvel supervillain. And her response? Forget an apology, she came back with a highlight reel laced with attitude and swagger. Anyone expecting tears, remorse, or even a moment of quiet reflection clearly doesn't understand Sophie.
Can't keep my hands to myself. I mean, I could, but why would I want to?
Hey, Brie. That's a flagrant foul.
This was the most beast mode thing that I've seen a woman do in WNBA history.
She showed up with clapbacks, full throttle energy, and a mic drop so powerful it echoed across the entire league. This wasn't damage control. This was full-on diva mode domination. Sophie didn't just sidestep cancel culture, she flipped it into her own personal comedy roast. And trust me, you'll want popcorn for what came next. If you're riding with Sophie, drop a spicy Sophie in the comments below.
Sophie Cunningham's response to all this, in terms of her tweets, like, if you guys didn't see Sophie Cunningham's retweets, Sophie Cunningham obviously responded with the shrug Instagram post, but has responded to the petition by just retweeting a freaking post about her jerseys being sold out. That is a response. That is quote tweeting her the petition. Like, that is the best way of going about it.
Let's get it. When Sophie saw that petition, she literally laughed right in the middle of a lunge during warm-ups. She didn't even pause, like the whole situation wasn't worth her time. And then, as if it were her favorite fan comment, she went ahead and retweeted the call to ban her. Not sarcastically, gleefully. Sophie isn't just brushing off the drama. She's feeding on it like a triple shot espresso mixed into her protein shake.
Now everybody knows who Sophie Cunningham is. Everybody wants a piece of Sophie Cunningham. Her jersey is the #1 selling jersey in the WNBA. Sold out. Now, why is that significant? I'll tell you. Because her jersey surpassed the all-time woman, Caitlin Clark. The most popular woman ever in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, got her jersey surpassed by Sophie Cunningham. Why? Because Sophie Cunningham stood up for Caitlin.
They tried to write her into an exaggerated WNBA drama script, painting her as the villain. That needs to be stopped. But from the bench, she just looked up like, did someone summon me? Forget redemption, this is glitter-covered retaliation in high definition. And Sophie Cunningham is owning every second of it. Now, let's talk about that tweet. It wasn't just a casual retweet, it was royal decree levels of petty.
But I will say that when you are good at basketball, you're pretty, and you got grit, those three things make you bad to the bone. And I think this is one of the new trends that's going on in the WNBA, in my personal opinion, is that not only will you be good at basketball, but you also, some of these women will look like women, right? They used to look like dudes, but now they look like beautiful women that are playing basketball. And one thing I like about Sophie is that she's tough.
The kind of move that basically said, thanks for the free promo. You could almost hear the digital knuckles cracking as the subtext screamed, let's dance. If you thought Sophie was going to fold under the weight of online outrage, then welcome to your first lesson in Sophie Cunningham 101. She doesn't back down from criticism, she leans in, fires back, and hits send with that signature smirk.
I feel like Sophie is like, you want to play? We can play. I want to play the clip of her with the girl. All right, here you go. Here you go. Here your girl, Sophie.
Wilson had it knocked away. Good hands by Allen. The Sheldon comes up with the steal.
Watch it. Oh!
Going coast to coast.
What's up, there?
And here's got another breakers here as J.C. Sheldon goes right after
blonde hair and the high heels fool you.
It was a hard foul, no question.
Got her in the headlock.
That says everything you need to know. Let's be real. That petition was a masterpiece of overreaction. A full-blown group meltdown dressed up as activism. It read like a bunch of fans who stumbled into a WNBA soap opera and couldn't handle a woman playing defense with real heart. But here's the truth that gets lost in all the noise. Sophie isn't dirty, she's deliberate. There's a big difference between disorder and discipline, and people seem to have forgotten that. When she gets physical, it's because someone else lit the match.
Guess whose jersey sold out today? The one and only Sophie Cunningham, aka the Enforcer and Caitlin Clark's bodyguard. Sophie Cunningham defended the face of basketball, and America was in love. I've honestly never seen so many people agree on one thing on Twitter, and they did last night. And also realizing that you wouldn't want to fight Sophie Cunningham after seeing this headline.
She's not out here throwing the first brick. She's just responding with structure, strength, and maybe a little glitter-dusted vengeance, because the moment you mess with her teammates, Sophie transforms into a heat-seeking missile in sneakers 1. Eyebrow raised toward Caitlin Clark, and suddenly she's charging like a human wrecking ball powered by emotional justice.
I don't understand how she ain't got 1 million followers or more by now. I've never really had an opinion on NBA or WNBA because I've just never cared to watch it. It's always been boring. Since Caitlin Clark, it has been interesting to watch. And now Sophie Cunningham, she don't play about her teammate. These girls, this combo makes it so worth watching. I heard she's a black belt too. What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it? You go, girl. Everybody go follow Sophie.
This isn't just a foul, it's family. You commit the fever, you're going to feel the heat. Let the league argue about technicals and flagrant ones all day long. Sophie's playing by a different rulebook. Protect the squad at all costs. And somewhere along that scorched path, almost by accident, Sophie Cunningham became something no one expected. The WNBA's most unlikely folk hero. Not just for the Caitlin Clark diehards or Indiana loyalists. Sophie's become a symbol for anyone watching the game and asking, hold on, where's the consistency? She's got linebacker energy, meme queen timing, and the emotional patience of someone who's officially out of patience. This isn't your typical Cinderella story. It's one told in sneakers, powered by rage.
It was all game, folks. All game. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were getting checked. All game. The Indiana Fever were getting punked. All game. The referees let this physical style of basketball continue and continue and continue and continue and continue and continue. And eventually, Sophie Cunningham had enough. Oh yeah. Sophie Cunningham had enough, folks. Shout out to Sophie Cunningham. We wanted somebody like this that said, I'm tired of this. I'm trying to step up. It's time to step up. We're not going to get punked anymore. We're not going to get pushed around anymore. We're not going to get treated like a little sister anymore, like a little brother anymore. We are going to start being the ones that say, you know what? We're not going to start the fight, but we damn sure will finish the
And instead of a glass slipper, Sophie's fitting defenders with shoulder checks and dragging hypocrisy behind her like it's just another defensive assignment. They wanted her muted, sidelined, and embarrassed. What they got instead was a viral headline machine with a playbook fueled by righteous rage. Sophie's not angry for show, she's fed up. She's spent weeks, even months, watching her teammate Caitlin Clark take cheap shots from every angle, get dragged through the mud, and still be expected to smile through it all.
What Sophie Cunningham did, she stood on business, bro. Sophie Cunningham stood on business about her dear friend Caitlin Clark, bro. And that was honorable what she did, bro. That was honorable. I'm sorry, bro. I will forever justify this. I am sorry, bro. That was honorable what she had done for Caitlin, bro.
Meanwhile, the league and the refs are handing out technicals and ejections like it's a spin the wheel party, but somehow the harshest spotlight always lands on the Fever. Let's break that down. Explain how JC Sheldon barrels into Sophie like a linebacker with no breaks, and it's called passion. But the moment Sophie responds, the internet acts like she launched a missile at center court. This isn't just bias, it's straight up absurdity wrapped in selective memory. Shelton didn't just lower her shoulder. She transformed it into a tactical battering ram, and somehow Sophie's the one under fire.
She took somebody down, and then when they tried to go at her, two of them went at her. She held one of them off with one hand while getting the other one in a Muay Thai hold, and looked like if this was an MMA fight, she would have started bring the head down to the knee. Like, you better believe in a 2-on-1, I'm taking Sophie Cunningham over Lindsay Allen and JC.
Sophie took that hit like a champ, barely blinked, and responded the way elite enforcers do, with emotionally charged precision. That wasn't rage. It was measured correction. You shake her balance, she resets the system, and you feel it. Not violence, just vengeance. Delivered in pounds per square inch. And here's what no one really talks about. Sophie never set out to be the league's rebel icon.
Sophie Cunningham obviously responded with the shrug Instagram post, but Sophie Cunningham also retweeted this. Sophie Cunningham jerseys have completely sold out. But like, there's been a lot of posts about Sophie Cunningham jerseys completely selling out. There's been a lot of posts. This is the only one. This is genuinely the only one that is quote tweeting. WNBA fans have now made a petition to have Sophie Cunningham removed from the league. You can't make this up.
She didn't show up for fame, she showed up for fairness. All she wanted was a consistent rulebook, one that applied to everyone, no matter the jersey color or social media following. But when it became clear the league was protecting the bullies, Sophie didn't back down. She just said, "Fine, let's go." And it's working. Fans are flipping. Jerseys are flying off the shelves. TikToks are exploding with her highlights. Sophie's not just a player anymore, she's a cultural shift. The kind of athlete who doesn't need a crisis manager because she is the crisis and the comeback rolled into one. Meanwhile, the critics are coming undone. They've never seen a woman face cancel culture with nothing but raw charisma and viral comebacks. The more they boo, the louder the cheers get. Every defensive play now feels like a trailer for the
Good at basketball. She's fighting back for Caitlin Clark. And then, she showed up to the games. You know what I'm saying? Roll the clip.
When we first played her, I just think she's had a lot of pressure on her shoulders, and I think a lot of people, no one's walked in her footsteps, and so it's really easy to judge and to say things, but at the end of the day, we all need to empower each other and be there for each other. I think she's done a lot, not only her, but that rookie class. They've brought a lot of attention to our league, and it's needed. Like, this is what we've always wanted, and so why would we not embrace them and make sure they're good? And so when we first played them, I was like, hey, keep doing your thing. Like, you're doing a great job. If you ever need anything.
Action sequel of the season. Sophie's not just protecting the rim, she's defending common sense, integrity, and her squad's right to play hard without being branded as villains. Sophie Cunningham isn't wilding out for the thrill of it. Everything she does is intentional. She's guarding her squad. When Caitlin Clark was getting roughed up, who stood tall? Who refused to stay silent? Sophie did. She saw the whispers at the end line, caught the subtext in fouls no one dared to call, and responded with a clear message. Not today. Yes, her answer got physical. And yes, it delivered a crystal clear warning. You can press us, but we'll press back harder. Somewhere in the chaos, Sophie didn't just react, she transformed. She became the WNBA's new emblem of unapologetic strength. Not because she chased that title, but because she earned it with every shoulder check and every razor-sharp side eye that set social media on fire. She didn't start the fire, but she knows exactly how to use the heat.
It is totally their responsibility And if they had taken care of the business earlier, we would be in this situation right now.
The way that the game went and how egregious the referees were and how they were not protecting players, and they especially weren't protecting the #1 player in this league, the biggest draw in this league, which is Caitlin Clark, and they continue to not do that. She's gonna stand up for her teammate, and that's what she did in that moment.
And here's what the haters still don't understand. You can't cancel someone who's already embraced their villain arc. Sophie leaned into it, owned it, and elevated it. Now, the very critics who once called for her removal are watching her rise not just as a player, but as a full-blown movement. Go ahead, reopen that petition. Scroll through those signatures dressed up as outrage, because every protest just adds fuel to her momentum. Sophie's not just surviving the storm, she's orchestrating it. And if you think this is the end of her story, think again. This isn't the finale, it's just the prelude. So let's talk about those ever watchful.
You can't claw someone in the eye. Eject her. Eject both of them. Eject both of them. So there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Nothing there. JC Sean claws her in the eye. Then the two of them get into it, and then Mabry just goes and shoves her onto the ground. Eject both of them. Eject both of them. Eject both of them.
Referees, the traffic cones and stripes who witnessed a full body collision and somehow thought, yeah, that checks out. In a moment that called for clarity and control, they tried to neutralize tension like it was a routine call, but instead, they brought folding chairs to a gladiator match and forgot which team was actually taking hits. Then came the double shove. On Caitlin Clark, not a polite bump, not a scrimmage tap, but a full-force physics experiment gone rogue. 2 shoulders, 2 directions, 1 blatant collision. It looked less like defense and more like contact mechanics taught by chaos. And yet nothing changed. Marina Mabry stayed on the court, JC Sheldon stayed. Sophie stood alone, the only one calling it like it was, a lone referee in a room. Full of silence post-game, the league finally chimed in with its signature performative gasp. Oops, our bad. We reviewed 8 camera angles and yeah, that wasn't great. A band-aid on a bullet wound. Public relations dressed up as progress. But where was that protection when it mattered? Where was the whistle as Caitlin Clark dropped like a dodgeball casualty in a dystopian gym class? Upgrading fouls after the final horn is like sending thoughts. And prayers after the house has already burned to the ground. You see none of the damage, but somehow still expect credit for showing up. Then there was the eye poke, no technical. The brutal shove that followed. Only Sophie felt the full force as Caitlin blinked, stunned, like she'd accidentally wandered onto a football field wearing ballet flats, and the refs, they barely stirred. Then came Kathy's blindside shove blink, and you'd miss it. But Sophie didn't, neither did the cameras. This wasn't physical play, it was a sneak attack on full display, and still nothing. No whistle. No accountability. But here's the part that matters. Sophie didn't lash out. She didn't retaliate, not once. She stood her ground while the chaos unfolded around her like a highlight reel from a nightmare. That restraint, that professionalism, she channeled all of it into her game, into her defense, her shoulder check timing, her on-court discipline. And what did she get in return? Viral clips of her being leveled while the referees practically sipped imaginary lattes courtside. Mabry and Sheldon strutted off like they just delivered a performance worthy of a standing ovation. The league's response. A foul upgrade slapped together post-game after the petition ink had already dried. It was validation way too late, a participation ribbon handed out at a crime scene. A gotcha sticker that changed nothing. Meanwhile, Sophie was left cleaning up the mess, a superhero with no utility belt, trying to restore order and chaos. And this wasn't a one-off. This is a playbook, now a consistent pattern of inconsistent stoppages. forcing players like Sophie to become backup referees while trying to win actual games. This isn't just negligence, it's selective negligence. If Sophie exhales wrong, it's a flagrant. But if someone sends her flying into row 3, it's business as usual. The double standard is so thick, you could build a fortress out of it.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected. And that is certainly the case with the way things around Caitlin Clark are officiated. This is a constant problem now. You know, it is something that since the beginning, I've kind of like backed off on because physical play is a part of sports. You know, going after a superstar and trying to rough them up a little bit to get in their head is a part of sports. But when it crosses the line, the referees need to do their jobs. They need to do their jobs, blow the whistle, and officiate.
And yet, Sophie keeps showing up, tweeting, competing, bracing herself for the next round. Because every uncalled foul, every missed technical, is turning her into something stronger, smarter, and more resilient. She's not angry, she's unbreakable. A warrior shaping her own legacy from the wreckage of poor officiating. And the fans, they're watching closely. Every freeze frame is dissected on TikTok. They know exactly who threw the elbow, who delivered the shove, and which players walked away untouched. These aren't just spectators anymore, they're auditors. Tracking fouls like legal clerks, demanding accountability with the precision of clockwork. Sophie's not just playing the game, she's become the center of a full court investigation. Her highlights aren't just entertainment, they're evidence. The sidelines feel more like courtroom benches and receipts. Oh, they're everywhere. This isn't just about one player's temper or a blurred moment of aggression. This is about systemic oversight. A pattern that lets violent infractions slide while patching things up later with cosmetic fixes. The league says it wants tough play, but only from its favorites.
Can you specifically detail what you mean by get control of the game, just to be in your words?
Get control of the game is call the fouls that are actually happening on the floor. Right, and consistently call the fouls that are actually happening on the floor.
It wants drama, but only if it fits the script. Sophie didn't fit the mold, so they tried to clip her wings. Instead, she broke free, turned that box into a podium, and lit it up with her next tweet. Repeat after me. We want toughness, but only if it follows the script. We want entertainment, but only within narrative bounds. Sophie disrupted that. She refuses to color inside the lines. She's rewriting the rhythm of the game, one physical rebuke, one flawed whistle, one viral. Moment at a time, and still nothing from the refs. No apology, no accountability, just the soft hum of retroactive penalties and muted promises. It's like benching a player with an ice pack when the game needed an ambulance. But Sophie, she's done waiting for the call. She's become both the referee and the enforcer. She's not just playing for a win, she's playing for a validation. And while the league scrambles to catch up, she's already stepped into the spotlight. If you support Sophie, drop a spicy Sophie in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on your screen, and we'll see you in the next one.